Hello and welcome to Arrest All Mimics. My name is Ben Talon. This is the Original Thinking and Creative Innovation podcast. Hello everyone, how are you doing? The weather this week is political pain all over the show. Yes. I hope you're going to go and vote. I've been getting... I stay away from political stuff a lot of the time. I think a lot of my own input is about creativity and strengthening our industry and trying to do the work that I'm doing to raise people's awareness of the inherent great value of creativity. So I've been keeping off the political stuff, but I broke a little bit and I've done an original artwork. It's called Netflix and Kill. Go and have a look on my website. What are you guys up to? What are you doing? What are you trying to influence? What do you care about? Who are you voting for? All that stuff. It's interesting. The reason I got on this tip is about political apathy. I thought it was dangerous. For years I was quite ignorant to politics and you wrote it off as boring like we all do when we're young, but now it's knocking on the door and a lot of morals are being binned off because money has to be made and it's all getting a bit dark and dirty and lies are being told. So I wanted to create a piece, not a dig at any political party, but more about people who go and watch their box sets and the danger of not really taking notice until it's right on your doorstep, knocking down your door, a big bad political wolf, and it's going to happen. So go and read up, go and learn, go and vote. That's my little pointer. That's my little political rant over with. I hope you're all good. I hope you're all feeling inspired and fired up. We've got Stephen Bliss coming up on the show today. Fantastic guest. Known for a lot of his work, all brilliant. Worked for years at Rockstar Games on the Grand Theft Auto series. You'll recognise his iconic work for those covers, particularly Grand Theft Auto 3 and Vice City. For any game fans out there, you will know it straight away. We're going to get chatting about that and his journey since, which is fascinating and equally brilliant. So get over to that soon. But first, I've got to thank my wonderful sponsors who keep me in a position to do this show for free every week for you guys. Cheers for the feedback, as ever. It's brilliant. It's great to hear from you all. Hit us up at Arrest All Mimics on the Twitter. Show's growing all the time. The numbers are going up. The listenership, the social media following. Do keep spreading the word. I do really appreciate it when people do that, tag us and say nice things about the show, or even if you've got bad things to say, make sure it's constructive because I take it all on board and it's helped to shape it as it's gone along. So keep it all coming. Guest suggestions and the rest of it. So, founding sponsor, Illustration Limited. Thanks to those guys for the ongoing support. Go and check them out, illustrationweb.com, representing over 200 different artists of all genres, working in set design, fashion illustration, lettering specialists. We've got live illustrators, people doing murals. The industry's gone boom. The walls are coming down. It's bleeding into all so many different areas of commerce, personal projects, street art, you name it. So there's a lot of opportunities out there, and the Illustration Limited are doing a great job of representing all the people at the forefront of that. So go and have a look. illustrationweb.com. heartinternet.co.uk. Give us a digital tip every week because these guys specialists in search engine optimization, that good stuff that you need to get you up the Google rankings, making sure you're appearing in all the relevant search terms. Somebody's looking for an illustrator and you do a specific thing, you want to be getting recognized and ranking pretty high on Google, right? So go and have a look. These guys have loads of great tips, advice, professional input, because they've been there since day dot, since the advent of the .com era and all that stuff. So they know all the things that you might struggle with. So go and check them out. They also do great hosting and websites, URLs, domain names and all that. The tip this week, I thought I'd mention how Stephen Bliss and I first came into contact. Stephen was doing an absolutely mind-blowing mural in Los Angeles of Debbie Harry of Blondie fame, and it's absolutely brilliant. It's one of my favourite pieces that he's done. It was the first time he worked large scale and he knocked the ball out of the park. So I was commenting on his piece that I'd come across on Instagram, and Stephen was kind enough to reply, and we got talking about his work and what he was up to. And we made a nice little connection, and it was off the back of that I thought, okay, let's see if he's up for the show, because I would love to talk to Stephen about his work at Rockstar, everything he's done since, his fantastic career and his superb talents. So I approached him and he was up for it. So we had an aborted attempt at doing this show about 8-9 months ago when he was preparing for his I, Frankenstein show, which we'll talk about shortly. And it was good. The show was good enough. We managed to get it done on Skype, but it just isn't quite the same, and it was dropping in and out and all over the place, and all the stuff that happens when you try and do stuff on Skype overseas. So I asked Stephen if he'd be up for meeting when I went to New York just recently, and we did, and he very kindly had me around his apartment. But I just wanted to highlight the fact that just something as simple as a heartfelt comment or a little bit of praise on someone's Instagram post can go a long way, and you can build these nice relationships that mean a little bit more than just a lazy like or a swipe past something. I think we're all familiar with the old bots doing the rounds. You get the classic sexy person in skimpy underwear liking your stuff and going, "Oh, love," and it's like so false and bullshit. So being genuine. Just actually, if you like something, say why. Give a specific detail about what you like about something. I know I love it when people do that on my own work. So there you go. That is a tip courtesy of heartinternet.co.uk. Last but certainly not least, printed.com. Do all the printing and the graphics for the show. They do a great job. I use their wonderful recycled stock for my own 16-page promo booklet. A great client to work with, good high-quality printing, expanding their product all the time, do over 90 different products, matte, gloss finishes, you name it, it's all going on. Specialist stuff as well if you want something a little more custom, and great customer service. So I wanted to talk about the range of printed stuff that I've seen of Stephen's work, my guest today. I was always an avid gamer from the ages of about 10, right up until 18, 19. I can't say that I play them too much anymore unless it's a little multiplayer blast or a retro game on an arcade, but I was right there with the explosion of the controversial Grand Theft Auto series. So I saw that original artwork printed on PlayStation Magazine and all the gamer magazines at the time, and it was so nice to kind of hold that in your hand and keep that copy of the magazine for yourself, and I would thumb them to death. So the pages were all tearing and stuff by the end of it, and I would cut out certain graphics and stick them in scrapbooks and on my wall at university. But then when I was around Stephen's apartment to record this show, he's been working on an incredible series of personal artworks using the ripped subway posters and all the textures that come with that and the decaying kind of underlying layers. Something that Stephen will tell us about his sort of obsession and his fascination with living in New York City, where it's absolutely ripe for that. And to see the depth on these pieces up close and personal and all the printed aspects of that, it's just stunning, and you can't put a value on that. Seeing it presented there in the frame on his wall, and it's huge as his artwork, and it was just an absolute joy to go and see that up close and personal. So it just says a lot about printed material and holding something in your hands. So go and check those guys out if that's what you want for your promo and your artworks. Printed.com. Thank you so much to all those guys. So last week we had Sandra Diekman. Great response. Second time she's been on the show, this time specifically to talk about her debut foray into the children's book market with Leaf, which is coming out very, very soon, and you can pre-order that now on Flying Eye Books. Go and have a look in the show notes on the episode from last week, and you'll find a direct link for that, or check out her social media. It's all on there, so thanks to Sandra, and thanks for everyone who gave great feedback on that. I know you were all loving it. I'm up to just over 30,000 words on book 2 at the moment, which I'm not still entirely sure what format that's going to take on, what shape it's going to be put out as, but it is going to happen, and it is coming very, very soon. So for anyone interested in that and advice on the freelance lifestyle career from a very honest personal perspective, go and check out my first book, Champagne and Wax Crayons, which is out there now. You can get that in Bookseller Crow in Crystal Palace. You can get that Tape Modern. You might have to ask them to order it in there. I know they were running a little low last time I was in. The House of Illustration and King's Cross are now stocking the book, so if you want to go and check out some Quentin Blake goodness and pick that up, go and have a look. Got John Hegarty coming up on the show soon, one of the original ad men. I was in there and I picked up his book, Hegarty on Advertising, from the House of Illustration too. They've got a great little shop, so go and have a look there. A little quick thanks to the Association of Illustrators for consistently promoting the show. We've got the World Illustration Awards shortlist coming out very soon, and maybe it'll be out by the time I'm back with you next week. Who knows? I'm keeping an eagle eye on that. I submitted my mural Punk Isn't Dead, which was at the Flora on Cathay's Terrace in Cardiff. That's a very it's a comment piece once again on modern technology's detrimental effects on our lifestyles and attitudes. So you can check that out on my website, bentalon.com. So without further ado, let's get to it. Stephen Bliss. I wanted to talk to Stephen because I fell in love with his large-scale artwork, his mural Debbie Harry in LA recently. And we had a great conversation about his ripped-up Subway posters and what he's doing with that, and about his show, I, Frankenstein, which took place late last year at the Monorex Gallery in Los Angeles. It looks absolutely fantastic, and I'm a little gutted I wasn't in the States so that I could go and see that show. But I did, as I mentioned, have the honour of going around Stephen's apartment, as he kindly invited me around to record the show, and he put on a nice pot of coffee for us both, and we got down to talking about his wonderful career, which started in the UK from... I've gone blank. He'll tell you where he's from on the show. He's from down here, down south. That's all you need to know. It doesn't matter. He's a brilliant artist. He's working on some incredible pieces at the moment, original stuff. He's represented by Bernstein and Andrewley, which are a great agency, who I also went to talk to as part of an upcoming Illustration Agent special. And he's doing a real range of great work. We're going to talk about his time at Rockstar Games on the Grand Theft Auto series, but more importantly, we're looking forward, and we're going to talk about where we find him now, why he left, and why he's going down a more fine art track, and how he's doing that, and why did he take the risk, why did he leave such a cushy number in order to pursue his own work and to fulfill his own creative dreams. We're going to talk about why it's absolutely crucial to retain sight of why you got into this in the first place and what you want from your creativity. So Stephen's full of wisdom and full of great stories, so we're going to get down to that. I want to hear your feedback. Hit us up on the Twitter at ArrestAllMimics. We're going to talk about how his work, it translates across different mediums, right from these, the sort of more crisp Grand Theft Auto stuff, right forward to these posters that I speak of. So, like I said, get us your feedback. Want to hear from that. Want to hear what you think of any previous shows. Want to hear about who you'd like to hear on the show coming up. If you want to be on the show, let me know. I've had a few of those conversations recently as well. So without further ado, let's get to it. You find me in Brooklyn with Stephen Bliss.
It was a real eye-opener. The first time I did Art Basel was the first... I did the Debbie Harry mural with Tristan. He was doing Africa Bambaataa up the road, and I was doing Debbie Harry. He got me that job. But there was a whole bunch of people there, like Circle, can't remember the other, Hush, all those guys. They were travelling the world, being paid and doing murals, and it was like, this is for me, So I really want to do that. Louisa has an agency. Part of her agency is for murals now because it's so lucrative.
I think it's a smart move, seeing what's happening.
If I can tour the world, not tour the world, but if I can get gigs doing public speaking around here and there and do murals, it's going to be a nice way to travel and earn a bit of money. I've
been trying to plant the seeds to free myself up for more that route of things. I'm really living writing at the moment, which gives me a lot more ability too. Again, I can do that from absolutely anywhere and without carrying much kit around. And that idea that you just said there about the freedom of going around and creating and sharing that with people is probably closest to the whatever. I don't know what the dream is, but it feels pretty damn good, the idea of that.
Yeah, I think that's a pinnacle. Not a pinnacle because that suggests a point and there's a downhill, but if you can achieve that in life where you're travelling around and managing to have a comfortable lifestyle and have a bit of money, I mean, you've done it,
I think so.
And maintain it as well.
Yeah, I think so. And not to jump too far ahead of ourselves, but the shift you've made into doing this stuff with the RIP posters, and I find it very inspiring because you see so many people reach, you said there, pinnacle and plateau. And that's one of the worst nightmares to me, as someone who I like to... It feels like it's in my blood, creativity, but the idea of that, of settling on something, that scares me. Is that the same with you?
I'd get very bored if I settled on one style. I guess the style that went through Grand Theft Auto, the games I worked on, has come out the other end, and I'm still painting in a similar style. I think it's rawer than what I do, and there's more quirkiness to it. If you see some of my ink drawings that I do on the RIP posters, and the root of that comes from DC Comics and Marvel when I was 7. So I guess I do have a style that's a core that runs all the way through, but if I didn't experiment and didn't follow what I was really excited about, and I got loads of ideas ready for doing for shows, I think I'd go out of my mind. You know.
I think people operate different, don't they? And there's some people just need to fulfil that and have the challenges ahead to try pushing things and take things new places. That's the in my view, that's the essence of being a creative person and being interested in exploring your own creativity. So you mentioned DC Comics. Was that an early influence in the style that we saw in the sort of Grand Theft Auto work? Was that shaped in when you worked at Rockstar, or did you was that a style you were already practicing?
That style, when I did the GTA 3 cover, I adapted whatever I was doing before to that cover, which is a heavy black line and all the monotone and the black outline. But that, I was copying Marvel comic frames back when I was 7 or 8 and trying to get all the anatomy right, and that stuff was fantastic, and it just stuck with me all the way through.
It's ever intriguing to me, people's early stuff, because I think we all, to a degree, start doing that. We copy the stuff that we love very innocently and very from a true love of it. I did the same thing with the comics, but then I was kind of taken away by football graphics and wrestling, in my case, professional wrestling stuff. But it's when you leave that and you start to add this now forming personality that you've got, whether it's in your teens and your formative years. I love that. I think that's a beautiful connection when it starts to go its own way.
When you collect things together, like, when I start to see the punk graphics were probably, I would say psychedelic art and hand-painted logos went along with the DC Comics, and then the next step was punk, Jamie Reed, seeing all his fantastic graphic work. So that bundled in with DC and Marvel, and then the next big influence was Raw Comics, Art Spiegelman's beautiful comic that he used to make in the 80s. As in, there was Gary Panther, the rawness of his work and the colour he used to use. Who else was there? Mark Mayer. Who else? Jude Friedman, I think his name is. But anyway, did you know Raw Comics?
No.
It's really beautiful. You should check it out. He would do things like rip the corner off the comic and then stick the rip inside the comic. I don't know why, but that would be, it was to go for a lot of money now. They're beautiful, beautiful comics. After that, those are the main influences back then, that kind of formed my whole style, I think.
Yeah. And
then back to psychedelic art as well. That's always been a constant.
Yeah.
Because all my logos used to be hand painted. In fact, they still are. I just did a job for Coca-Cola. They're bringing out a new drink, and I did a typography for that.
Okay.
Which is all hand drawn. So.
Very nice.
Yeah, I love all that.
Where did you grow up, and when?
Grew up in Trowbridge, Wiltshire.
Yeah.
It's near Stonehenge. I guess I tried to grow up in the 1970s. I don't think I grew up until I was 45, really. But anyway, I attempted to grow up then, and then the 80s I was pretty much art college. Went to Japan, 4 years at Hysteric Glamour fashion company there.
Oh, wow.
And then 90s I was on and off in Japan, working in London. And then left London in 2001 to come to New York.
What impact did Japan have? I've just come back from there for the first time, and it blew me away.
Well, obviously all the manga was an influence, and that stuff's pretty crazy over there. But it was like hanging out with Nobu, who was the head designer at Hysteric Glamour where I was working. He had a big influence in that he would introduce me to so much different work. There's an artist called Ero, E-R-R-O, that I really loved. Being introduced to his work was amazing. Who else was there? I can't remember. But he introduced me to a lot of music and a lot of art. So I think he was a big influence than the actual experience of being in Japan, really, on my work.
Did you speak the language?
I spoke at one point,
Yeah,
and I forgot it all.
yeah.
I pretty much can't speak anything now.
I liked being completely out of my depth in some respects because I didn't understand anything. Everything was so visual, so I was taking it in, I suppose, on a different level
Yeah.
to people who could speak the language or native people, but they just...
But they're really kind. I mean, they will help you
Oh,
if you're stuck. Still, a very easy place to get lost.
yeah. That's the thing, yeah. I found that myself. The people treat us wonderfully. But yeah, very, very easy to get lost, yeah.
First day I got there, I should have taken the hotel name and number, because I got in a taxi somehow and ended up in the middle of nowhere, and it was like no idea where to go back to.
That's the thing, isn't it? No anchor point.
I don't even know how I got back to where I was supposed to be. It's weird.
It's brilliant. We were staying in Kyoto, a few different places, but in Kyoto, we were right under the sort of bypass, which was very strange. There's little apartments right under this big concrete sweep going round, and there's just behind this chain link fence is one solitary slide. Very bizarre. I couldn't wait to illustrate it. It was just intrigued me every morning looking out this one slide. That
was the local playground, was it?
Yeah, it seemed to be for the houses there. I don't know.
That's insane. It's kind of like posh troll living then under the bridge.
Yeah, definitely did feel like that, because there were nice apartments, and once you were down there, you didn't really realise that was above. But as you were coming down, I remember my girlfriend looking up and going, "This is nuts. This is going to be deafening. We're under a bypass." But he was silent down there. It was quite.
Well, great idea. More cities should have buildings under the bypass.
Yeah.
They're kind of like starved for space, though, aren't they? More than anywhere.
Very much so. Yeah.
It's pretty genius. I wonder who owned the government. Obviously owns the underbridge. It could stimulate a bit of economy, couldn't it?
You think? Yeah. They should have shows down there.
$1 million apartments under the bridge.
Yeah.
Troll towers.
Yeah.
A show underneath. Yeah, maybe. I've been thinking about putting my Rip poster artwork back into the street. But someone might nick it. I guess, I'd like to see if I stuck a piece on a wall, what would happen to it? Like, who would rip bits off? Would anyone draw into it, stick paste-ups or stickers onto it? But as I said, if someone nicked it, I'd be really annoyed.
Yeah, because there'd be a portion of people who would walk past it like any other, but then surely there'd be some who would see that there's a little more method to these ones.
Maybe I should be less precious about it and just do it as an experiment.
Yeah.
I'll wait there all day, and if someone takes too much of it away, then I'll be like, "Oi, that's not free."
Policing it, yeah. Could be good. That'd be interesting to see. But then, like you say, they're so beautiful that in their own way that it'd be hard to truly embrace that and let it go.
Yeah. I guess that's part of it. It's kind of like really letting it go. There's a really good artist, I forget her name, where one of her pieces was she launched a meteor back into space with the American Army, and the art piece was just the space, like the empty air left from shooting the meteor back into space.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and she did a lot of her work. Oh, she made beautiful sculptures from a burnt church, a church that had burnt down in America, and she hung the black burnt wood from the ceiling in a beautiful kind of like rhythmic way.
That stuff's incredible.
Yeah. So yeah, now talking about putting it back in the street and seeing what happens to it is something that I should do, isn't it? Thinking about it.
I think so. Yeah, I think that would be a good, definitely a whole different slice of the project. Yeah. Also,
the subway has my favourite boardings covered in Rip posters. I don't know why. I think because the posters the vintage stuff has been maintained for such a long time that I've got some amazing layers from from the 70s, stuff I've pulled down from the subway that's been exposed.
Oh wow.
It's beautiful. I mean, it's filthy, but it doesn't matter. You get your hands dirty with this stuff.
Oh god, that's surely a big part of it.
Yeah. But I've wanted to paint onto that in the subway, but I don't want to get arrested.
No.
You know, what is the difference between painting a nice picture on the wall versus graffiti? At the moment, I'm not. I think there's a discussion legally, like when they bust people and they don't bust people. It's like what's vandalism and what's art.
I've often wondered about that. Maybe they should start training coppers as art directors as well.
Yeah, put a lot of like underworked artists into the police force, the art force. I'm sure Trump would finance that.
It's not a bad idea, you know. I think maybe we're just deluded artists, but I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I met a guy this weekend who just done a documentary. What's it called? I don't know, Following Banksy or something. And it's dealing with the people that take the walls down and sell them for money.
Mm.
And what's the word? Not etiquette, but it's kind of like what's the implication of that and what should be done about it? Vandalism versus mural art. Especially with Banksy, because I mean, what's one of his walls go for? That's
a lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah.
Did you see the project recently? The one in between Israel and Palestine.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah.
There was a time when I was almost knocked a little bit by the sheer amount of gift shops ripping off and exploiting his anonymity.
Yeah.
But then projects like that remind you that actually very clever, talented man.
Yeah, yeah. If he left it at wall art, it would have been like, he's still conceptually incredible. But the fact he pushed it to doing his Disneyland and the hotel.
Dismal Land.
He deserves to be one of the most famous artists in the world.
Oh, and to never step out and sort of gobble up the glamour almost, which he could do at any point and has never done. I think that's commendable.
Yeah,
shows that he truly cares about the right things.
Yeah, I mean I think he's the most famous artist there is, because the fact that he gets into the New York Post, which is I believe a blue collar newspaper over here. The fact that they will print an article on, is this Banksy spraying a wall or something? You would have thought that it'd be like, why are they printing something about some guy called Banksy?
Yeah.
But everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
I can't think of it. I mean, I don't even know if people reading the Post would even know who Warhol is.
Really?
I don't know. Maybe I'm being unfair.
Interesting. There's a question. Is Banksy the biggest rock star in the world?
Biggest rock star in the world?
Probably. I mean, music, there's very few of them anymore.
He's probably up there with Elvis, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean, in terms of everyone knowing who he is, at least loosely.
Well, he'll make the news all the time, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm.
International news.
Yeah.
But then he's doing some really interesting stuff.
Oh, it's very important work, yeah. So New York, how long have you been here now? You said 2001, right?
Yeah, 16 years.
And you still, I think the posters probably show that you're still loving it.
I love it. If I go into New York and see some of this stuff around, the rip posters that I can take down as raw materials for my work, it's just like I'm just start buzzing, It's that I when I went to LA last year, I didn't really miss that much apart from my son, and I was like, oh, New York, I'm taking it for granted now, really. And then I started seeing all the rip posters around, and I was just like, that's why I love this place. The decay and the graffiti and the art. I can look around and kind of choose little bits of wall to either rip down or photograph. It's really makes the city more interesting. I want to travel the world and just to photograph walls and rip down samples. I keep seeing on Instagram people are doing the same thing as me as regards to photographing the details of the walls. There's some fabulous stuff in Paris, especially. I see those photographs and I'm just like, I want to go on, teleport me to France so I can go and nick that stuff.
Yeah.
Or photograph it. So yeah, I still love New York. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere else.
No.
Unless my son, when he's 18, moves to LA, then I'll probably move to LA and try and persuade him to let me have the spare room.
Yeah.
But I'll be really uncool.
Yeah.
And it'll be like, no, Dad, you're embarrassing me.
So with the with your early work, that's the early work with Rockstar. What was that? That must have been a huge buzz when those games really took off.
Well, I didn't know. Obviously, none of us really knew that it was going to be as explosive as it was. I mean, it's beyond phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's so many stories over the years that have been created by it. There was demonstrations outside the offices.
Wow.
Crossing a demonstration line to get into the office is pretty cool, you know. There's not many companies that would happen to.
No.
That would happen at. But to go from GTA 3 pretty much exploding as soon as it was released and selling millions, and then Vice City coming out, and then that selling even more. I mean, it was an amazing experience. Seeing that, and there's not many things in the history apart from, like the Beatles, Elvis, both caused a lot of trouble, where it'd be spoken about by governments, like, what are we going to do about this? This is ruining the youth of America or Britain. And then there was a time when the Beastie Boys were just considered satanic in England, and punk rock was considered satanic in England, and all the gigs, Sex Pistols gigs were banned, and then Twisted Sister even had, like, they were called up to the Senate and had to answer questions. And then Rockstar, again, the politicians using Rockstar as the satanic company that are ruining the youth of America. And politicians latching onto that to make themselves look better,
When in reality, I would argue that a lack of punk and that aesthetic and bad parenting got a lot more to answer for.
You think punk does?
No, I think punk, the lack of punk, that aesthetic, that DIY, people been taught to think for themselves and to embrace DIY culture. I think a lack of that in the home can be very destructive, way more than any video game, in my opinion. I had all those video games. I never once thought about I could never attack a person. I was showing the difference between what's reality and what's simulation. That was,
Yeah, absolutely. But we're a very easy thing to blame when it comes to politicians. It's very convenient.
Oh God, yeah.
It's only because it made so much money for the economy that I think they realised they had to lay off it. Because they're like, hang on a minute, this is keeping the economy going.
Yeah.
But I would, Trump needs someone to blame at the moment. I guess he's blaming everyone else. He doesn't need to blame Rockstar for anything. But
nope.
But to read and see a company that you're working for in the news and in the newspapers is very interesting.
Yeah, it's very exciting. I mentioned to you when we spoke last time that I really loved, and I was blessed to have this recently with my book came out in Japan, but to see my stuff out there in Japan and people buying it in Tokyo was a huge buzz. And was that the same in terms of all the magazine covers and all the global kind of coverage of what you guys have been working on? That must have been fantastic.
Well, it's fantastic to walk out into New York, for example, and see my artwork on billboards. And the rest of the team's artwork on billboards. When my parents came over, they're walking around the city and it's covered in the Warriors artwork that I'd done.
Yeah.
So they were tickled pink by that. My dad went down into the police station at Union Square subway to tell the cops down there that his son had painted all the Warriors artwork all over the subway, and the cops like, oh, cool, I was playing that last night.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
That's tremendous.
Even my wedding day, we're driving back from when we got married, and Lollipop Girl is based on my wife, and she's on a huge billboard on Houston Broad and Bowery, and that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, on a number of levels, that's great.
Yeah.
How did that go then? Did you work? I mean, would there be a script for these characters, or did the artwork form the characters in reverse?
When I started, I was given like descriptions of the characters and asked to work up my version of them. But later on, it became when the avatars were fully worked up. We worked from those.
Okay. And which did you prefer?
All of it. Loved it all.
And so, what were the reasons for leaving? Did you want to pursue new things?
I wanted to do my own artwork.
Mm.
I knew that it was, time was running out, and I had to get on with showing my own stuff.
Yeah.
And I was doing it in my spare time. I wanted to, and I knew that I could do something with it. So I had to get out there and do it, and take the risk. And we all have to take risks at some point in our careers, and do something that might fail abysmally, or it might make our lives hugely more exciting.
Sometimes both, in my own experience.
Failure can be exciting.
Yeah, very much so. And I think sometimes it just teaches you the greatest things.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, the fear that comes with that, I can completely empathise with people who would not take the risk. But to me, even the things that have gone completely flat on their arse have been some of the best catalysts. It's if nothing more than a process of elimination to say, stop doing that now. Go and focus on that thing, and that can be healthy sometimes.
Yeah, it's a fantastic part of the creative process. I 3 years ago, set out to do a certain form of fine art, and found I couldn't do it. It wasn't achievable at that point, and it just led me off into whatever I'm doing now. Mm. It's almost like a river finding its own route.
Yeah.
Which it can be frustrating, but when you are forced to discover something else because you can't manage to push through on another angle, it's wonderful,
Mm. Yeah, there's so many accidents I see in so many people's path that have been wonderful, just stumbled upon something they're great at through having been forced to do it for one thing or another. The reason we're here today is because I did a charity campaign, had no budget, and had to go and talk to these people to raise awareness of, it was awareness of male suicide. My angle was the emotional benefits of creativity.
Right, yeah.
Therefore, we talked to a whole range of everyone from comedians to painters to performance artists. Mm-hmm. So just wanted to find out what people's creativity did for them on a human level. And this was just me and a few creative friends who wanted to raise awareness of this bleak cause, and had no choice but to go and interview people, which I'd never done in my life, but loved it, and I just like talking to people about creativity, and I've run with it ever since. And you can't. I guess that's just trusting your instincts. The Rip poster stuff, there must have been a great instinctive lead on that from being exposed to it subconsciously.
Taking photographs of details of the Rip posters around New York, it was only a matter of time before I thought I wanted to start doing this for myself. Mm. And when you see a big juicy piece of poster with a model's head on it kind of hanging off a billboard, it's very tempting to just rip it and then collect other bits together and think, well, if I juxtapose this with that, it takes off from there, and it's very addictive. It's so meditative, piecing together in a harmonious composition all these different elements of ripped paper,
Mm. It's great because, as you said, people doing that on Instagram, you've got these things that are just there, simple as that, they exist in the environment, and yet everyone can take that. Everyone's got a different section they find attractive. Everyone sees it from a certain angle and with different input. I find that a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's growing, the number of people that are into it.
Yeah.
That's really why I had to start drawing into them to really make it mine.
Yeah.
I was always aware of, there's a movement in the 50s and 60s called the New Realists. Rotella, from the 1950s, was pulling down posters around Rome, and Jacques Vigle was doing the same in Paris. And they would cut pieces out from a billboard. They would choose the section of the billboard of the ripped poster, take it back to the studio and stick it straight onto canvas. And it was pretty much their point was the anonymous stranger in the street creates the art, we choose it, and then we frame it and put it in a gallery.
Mm.
And halfway through doing the ripped poster thing, I rediscovered Rotella's work, and I thought to myself, people are going to think what I'm doing is too derivative of this. So I started drawing into it and making it more personal to me.
Yeah.
And like Jose Parla, he's doing his version of it now, and his work's phenomenally beautiful. Who else is there? Fail have always been doing it in their way, and Shepard Fairey obviously does a lot of rip poster collage and then prints on top of it or paints on top of it.
Mm.
So I had to make mine more distinguished from what other people are doing,
Do you feel you've reached a space now where that's the case?
Yes, if more people knew about it. Yeah. But it's getting there. I just did a TED talk in Bermuda, and I'm hoping if that gets enough hits, then people will see what I'm up to.
Mm.
That's probably the most lucrative way to get my work out there. Lucrative as in getting more followers and people aware of my work than anything else I can think of, really.
TED Talks are huge these days, and with good reason.
Yeah.
There's such a great dynamic range of ideas and experiences.
I was talking to the governor of the island, the same as you, discussing, because there's gang problems on Bermuda now. I was just discussing how they should start encouraging murals and transforming the gang culture there with getting them into creativity and painting. And it's pretty no-brainer now. It's been proven endlessly all over the world that art really transforms not only people but whole environments.
Completely.
Yeah.
So many layers of creativity. This has become my driving thing. It's like I used to do a lot of little bits for various charities because I always like to use my work in that way. But now I've gotten single focus on trying to these shows, or the idea of planting these seeds out there for people to access and take their own things from. And I just think it's, as someone who grew up in a small Yorkshire town with not a lot happening, and seeing kids go astray from not having access to that use of creativity, it's just always seemed like a no-brainer thing to me. But putting that in a way that you can place that in front of a government, for example, and going, speaking their language so that it's understandable for someone who's never lived it, it's a difficult thing to do.
There's enough evidence now, though, to present to someone in authority.
Mm-hmm.
Whether or not you get the money from the government to do that is doubtful, but especially nowadays.
Yeah.
But there's a way to do it. My friend who has the Monorex Gallery in LA, where I had my show last year, he's been studying the gentrification process in West Adams, which is an impoverished area, still a Bloods and Crips gang territory. And since he's had the gallery there and encouraging artists to paint the streets, he's pretty much like the streets are now covered in mural work. The police are really chuffed because the crime rate's going down, the amount of graffiti is going down, and the mural art is the graffiti artists respect the mural artists. So the neighbourhood's really going up in being gentrified, if you think that's a good thing or not.
Self-expression, isn't it? If more people have access to that, it's one outlet that, and on a very basic level, they wouldn't have had.
And if you look at Wynwood, how that went from an impoverished neighbourhood in Miami to a place where you can't even afford to buy an apartment now because the mural artists painted, 10-block radius.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, I've just written a piece on that for Design Week, and it's about the sort of, you know, creativity, regenerated areas, but then all of a sudden artists can't afford to live there because it's now attractive, and
right.
it's a difficult thing to find. But I think there are awareness is starting to happen now, because there are statistics starting to pop up,
Yeah.
just how valuable the creative industries are, but also that the creatives are going. So it's like, okay, there needs to be protection of creative spaces. Again, it doesn't have an immediate monetary gain for the people who own the buildings. Therefore, you have to protect somehow and see the bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a situation where a neighbourhood gets gentrified to the point where people living there can't afford to live there anymore is not necessarily a good thing.
Mm.
But if it helps with an environment that's impoverished and doesn't push people out, that's a good thing.
It is. Again, it's finding the right balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Instead of just going crazy on one thing that works. So have you found the upscaling thing out? Your Debbie Harry piece blew me away. I thought it was tremendous.
Thanks.
But then I also thought, how's he done that? How's he got that? How's he upscaled to that size and got it right? Because I've only worked at maybe the wall that we're in front of now, and then I'm talking 6 foot by about 9 foot is the biggest that I've done, and that was a first time thing. So going beyond that, times 4 will be quite a frightening experience.
Well, when I left Rockstar, I decided I had to take on challenges that I didn't think I could achieve. And the first one was Debbie Harry mural, and I'd never used spray paint. I'm scared of heights, and I was 60 foot up in a cherry picker painting a wall. I hate people watching me work, so I had people constantly watching me work from the street using spray paint, which I'd never used before. It was a hell of a challenge in tropical rainstorms in Miami. But I just thought, I've got to do it. I'm not going to say no just because I think I can't do it and I have never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to take it on, and I did it. Same with the TED Talk. I thought, there's no way I'm going to get up in front of 1,000 people and talk. There was incredible self-doubt, but I knew I had to do it because otherwise I'd be a chicken.
Yeah. Well, you do. It's the only way you grow, isn't it? By
Yeah.
pushing yourself to new things.
And it creates adventure, overcoming fear. I'm still not great with spray paint, but I've done. I hope to do a lot more in the future, and just keep practicing.
Yeah.
I've done my 1,000 brush strokes, spray strokes though. There's I can't remember the name of the photographer, but he basically said, you got to throw away your first 1,000 photographs because you're not going to be any good until you've done that. So I've adapted that to spray paint. I've done my 1,000 spray paint strokes, so I feel like I've done my apprenticeship.
Yeah, I think there's something in that, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I could paint the size Tristan paints.
That's
which
next
is huge. I mean, he's in a crane doing some of that work. But, I'd like to think that I'd take on the challenge at least and try to do it.
Yeah. Start with something, I guess, quite simple, but yeah. I mean, God, just looking at his Instagram feed and seeing these huge multi-storey buildings, I don't know how that works. Getting so close and knowing what... I admire the man greatly for it.
Yeah. Well, all those graffiti guys, the mural artists, are so quick because I guess they trained avoiding being arrested. So they had to be really quick.
Yeah, that's true. Necessity is something that will bring that out.
If being an illustrator was illegal, I'd be a lot faster nowadays.
Yeah.
Which would be a great thing.
That's very true. So the show, was it I, Frankenstein? Your show with the posters? How was that? Go as well as you hoped?
It went really well, yeah. Another thing I didn't think I could do, and it was a 2,500 square foot gallery, which is huge, and I thought, how the hell am I going to fill a gallery like that? But I did 22 paintings, and it was perfect. They fit in, and they were huge. I got a big crowd in. Got some good drink sponsors. We had a good party, and sold most of it as well.
Fantastic.
And then most of the money, I put in most of the money up front, so which meant I made most of the money back. So I kind of evened out and broke even on that show.
Brilliant.
Which is pretty good for a. I mean, I've had solo shows before, but it's my first solo in LA. And I learnt a hell of a lot from it. I'm about to start a whole new body of work for the show in London in October. I've got so many ideas. I really want to get them down. I've been working on that Coke campaign and doing the TED Talk and stuff, and I haven't had a chance to get down to it yet.
Brilliant. I'll be looking forward to that.
Yeah.
How long's it going to be on for?
Only 2 weeks, which I think is pretty standard.
Yeah. It'll be good. I'll look out for that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, last bit. And I can't remember how you answered this question before, but I have a section at the end called The Shark in the Tank, and I ask people for a love and a hate or a positive and a negative, very loosely within the realm of creativity. The
rose and the thorn.
Yeah. It's always...
in the realm of creativity.
Very loosely. I've had, and very simple answers, very complex answers, very funny answers, very serious answers. It's really anything you want it to be, but...
Well, someone said to me recently that being an artist is probably the most stupid thing you can be in life. It's the most ridiculous career to take. Many times I would agree with that statement. And the world doesn't need another artist, I don't think, or mediocre artist anyway. It's extremely hard work and there's a lot of sacrifices, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And you've got to really have a lot of stamina. And there's the self-doubt that you have to go through being an artist is a pain. But again, that makes you get better. Learning from the failures, I mean, there's going to be many moments of failure that you're going to learn from as well, as we discussed earlier. But when you get in the zone and you block out anything else in the world and you're just completely connected, eyes, head, hand and canvas. That was something in my throat. I wasn't going to cry then. Over emotional. That's the most amazing thing there is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Apart from having a baby. Or having a kid when they're being really good. There's nothing better than getting in the zone.
Yeah.
And then having the balls to actually put your work up on a wall and invite people to have a look at it. That's pretty that's a pretty nervy thing to do. And when you can tell someone's not being polite, but someone actually really likes your work, that's a pretty amazing experience.
Yeah.
But mainly the zone is the rose, and the thorn is not having much money and working long hours.
Yeah.
And people telling you your shit, but it hasn't happened that much. But I got to a level now with my career that things are really working out well, I was afraid when I left Rockstar that my whole life would just crumble under my inability to do any work properly, but it's all working out really well.
Brilliant. I'm glad to hear it. I think it's a great example of having the balls to, step out of the comfort zone as well. I'm a big advocate of it, and I think it's great to see.
Life's a lot more exciting now, I have to say.
Yeah, there's a certain thrill to steering your own ship, isn't there?
Yeah. Is that enough negativity versus positivity?
That's fantastic. Yeah, great answer. Yeah, lots of both.
Yeah. What I could do with is a lot more art groupies, though.
Yeah,
that would be number 2 to being in the zone. Having a few art groupies.
I'm sure they'll come. Looking at the work on your wall now.
Well, they better hurry up because it's been 3 years.
Where can people find out your work? Was the best place to go and stay abreast of all that you're doing?
StephenBliss.com. Stephen with a PH.
Nice and easy.
Or Instagram is Stephen_Bliss. What else? The show in London. That's it, I think. You can put my name in Google. Bob's your uncle.
Fantastic. Well, that's wonderful. Cheers for your time, Stephen.
You're welcome. Pleasure.
That's great. Yeah, as ever. Thank you ever so much to Stephen for taking the time to sit down and talk with me in Brooklyn, New York, about where we're going with his career at this moment in time. I can tell you, having been around there and seen his workspace and seen some of the works in progress and the finished pieces, it's really exciting. Like, he's really hitting new strengths, and it's great to see someone flourishing creatively, having been so recognised for his work on the Grand Theft Auto series. It's very inspiring to see someone having the balls to take that leap and go and pursue the things that you want to do instead of resting on laurels. We all know how easy it is to do that in this industry, especially when we're freelance and we've got bills to pay and all that stuff, and we've got something that's providing good money. So fair play to Stephen. Go and check out his website. It's absolutely tremendous. You can see the whole range of all his Grand Theft Auto stuff and all the new things he's doing. Go and look in his personal section for all the poster work. Very, very exciting stuff. Let me know what you thought of the show on Twitter at ArrestAllMimics. Go and follow Stephen. I'm going to put all the links up in the show notes for this episode, as ever, so you can go and find him very easily, very quickly. It's wonderful stuff. Like I said, the numbers growing all the time. The support is great for the show. Please keep it coming. If you get time, please do go and drop us a little review on the iTunes. That really helps gather new listeners and support what I'm doing. Thanks again to the sponsors, illustrationweb.com, heartsinternet.co.uk and printed.com. Cheers to the AOI as well for the extra support. Next week, we've got the wonderful Lucinda Rogers, one of my early inspirations when I was at university, who showed me that it wasn't such a bad thing to be organic and really loosen up in a style. So we're going to talk about her fantastic reportage illustration. She's a great character and her work is tremendous, so that's a really good one to look forward to. Cheers again, Stephen Bliss. Thanks for listening, guys. Looking forward to hearing from you all soon. Nice one. Take care. See you later.